Hello, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to part 2 of my Sensible EDC. So in part 1 of this video we looked at what I actually carry on my person, from my watch to the contents of my EDC to the contents of my pockets. In this one what we're going to look at is, well, what I carry in here, my little EDC pack, the bits and pieces that I carry in my everyday rucksack. Now, while we would all love to spend all of our time out in the woods, reality kicks in and, well, we've got to keep roofs over our heads, we've got mouths to feed, kids to clothe, all of those good things. So we have to have an actual job, and the chances are that's not going to be out in the woods. Chances are it's probably going to be in a town or city, and the contents of this pack should reflect that. It should be something that I can carry the stuff I need for my everyday life, but also have a few bits and pieces in there to cover me for if things go wrong. Now, what I will say is the contents of this little bag is just that. It's for my everyday life. It is not a bug out bag. It is not an I'm never coming home bag. This is a bag for carrying to work every single day. So bear in mind the contents of this, well, that supplements the stuff we looked at in part 1, the stuff that I'm actually carrying, so the stuff in my belt pouch, in my pockets and on my wrist. But that is only part of the story, because we also need to think about what else we need when we head out. We tend to think, well, I also need clothing that is appropriate, A, for the environment that I'm in, and B, also for the weather conditions that I'm going to be out in. So if it's cold, well, you can have some warm kit, perhaps a little duvet jacket I tend to carry in the bag, so if I stop I can put this on. I also carry a woolly hat in my pocket, and I try to make sure that whatever footwear I'm wearing is also appropriate for the environment. I tend to wear a set of trail shoes an awful lot of the time, but if the weather's looking a little bit iffy, then I might put on a set of patrol boots, because those patrol boots, they're light, they're flexible, they're good in the woods, but they're equally as good in town. So the contents of the pack and your pockets is only the part of the story. You need to use a little bit of common sense about what you're wearing. If it's freezing cold, don't just go out in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt and be totally unprepared. It's all about thinking it through first. So this little pack is a little ex-military issue plain black day sack. The reason I like it is, well, although it's military issue and it's built to quite a high standard, it doesn't look overtly military. It's just plain black. There's no mole on there, there's very little that says tactical about this at all. It just is a plain ordinary little day sack. It's not going to stand out or make me stand out, more importantly. But the important thing is it's got everything I need, all the little features that I need for my everyday bag. So this little pack has a good number of practical features. It has these little shoulder straps, which are quite rigid, quite well padded. They're adjustable, they've got a chest strap, and onto that I've added one of these little bright orange whistle Fastex buckles. So I've got a whistle, means of summoning help if I need it. It's got a good grab handle. It's got an excellent sized pocket on the top there, as well as 2 good sized padded side pockets for things like your water bottles, your waterproofs, etc. And then it's got a zipped mesh pocket in there, which allows me to separate stuff out. So if I've got kit that's wet and I don't want to put it back in there, I can put it into the mesh pocket on the front. Or if it's stuff I want to get to in a hurry, again, that can go into that compartment there. What this one also has on the bottom, zipping right the way round, it had a sort of an extension piece which is housed in this pocket on the base. So I just use that as a pocket. So a lot of my emergency items go in this area in the bottom, completely separated from everything else. So going through my pack from the top, well, you think you've gone through it, but actually you haven't. I've got this secret compartment in the bottom. So it's a great little pack. I made a couple of alterations to it. Yes, I put the little Fast X buckle on the front with the whistle on. I also swapped out the plastic buckles for these good solid G-hook buckles. What I also did with it was I removed all of the pullers, and instead I put on just straight bits of paracord. One, they're less likely to break and pull off, which where these are getting quite old nowadays, the pullers do get a little bit fragile, so putting paracord ones on there makes a lot more sense. Also, these don't jingle and jangle around as you're walking, which I find particularly annoying. So the pack has plenty of space for my everyday needs. I can get my sandwiches in there, spare clothing, waterproof, a flask, a laptop, all those bits and pieces all fit in there. It also allows me space to put a few items in that if things go wrong and I'm suddenly stranded away from home, these items will aid me in getting home, either in my vehicle or if I have to, on foot. And that's what I'm going to take you through next, is what I've got in the pockets of my pack that will help me get home. So we're going to start at the top, and I'll gradually take you through the pockets and what items I carry in there for that just in case. So we'll start in the top pocket. I'm reaching in, first thing I've got is a small head torch. This is a Nebo Micro. It's a USB chargeable. It's very lightweight. It comes with a head strap, but it also comes with a clip that you can clip onto the front of a baseball cap. It has several different lighting modes, so there's 3 main power modes on it. It also has a green light and a red light for use at night. So a good practical little item. Obviously I'm also carrying on my belt my little Olight i3T, my little single AAA battery one, so I'm well covered on the lighting front. Next thing I've got in there, little thing of hand sanitizer. Obviously nowadays we all tend to sanitize quite regularly as a leftover from the COVID days, but this also has other uses as well. In an emergency I can use this for getting a fire going. Also for use in an emergency, got one of these, and this is one of my little FUBAR headbands. It's a headband that I can use in conjunction with my little Olight flashlight as a head torch if I need to. So if my little Micro runs out of battery, I can indeed use my little Olight as a head torch. But what this also doubles up as is a tourniquet in an emergency situation. So a multi-purpose, quite useful bit of kit. Also for use in an emergency, I've also got one of these, and this is an Israeli style dressing. I used to carry the first field dressings, and I did a thing on first aid kits a couple of years back, and quite a few people said get your hands on these, and I spoke to a couple of ex-military friends and they said, oh yeah, they're a really good bit of kit, we'll show you how to use them. And they are a great bit of kit for an emergency and well worth the extra weight and bulk. Next up, I've got a little sharpening board for keeping my pocket knife sharp. And then last but not least, I've got one of these, and this compact little item is actually a very good multi-purpose bit of kit. But what it actually is something called a splash map. And splash maps are an ordnance survey map printed on a piece of fabric. It's waterproof, it's multi-purpose. I can use it as a scarf or for wiping it down, or as a bandage, or as a sling, as a bandana, whatever I need. But the main thing is, it is a map. The really good thing I like with these is you can choose the area that you cover when you get this printed. So I centered it, not on the town that I live, but I centered it over the main area that I work with, where I live, off to one side, because I tend to work more to the west of the town that I live in than I do to the east. So it made sense that if I need a map to get back, that it covers that area. So a really great item, made from, I think it's recycled plastic bottles, so you're also doing your bit for the environment. But it makes an awful lot of sense. It also reminds me a great deal of like the old World War II escape maps. But again, you never know. If you have to make your way back on foot, or even in a vehicle, you may need to use a map. You can't always rely on having that Google Maps. This makes a lot more sense. So next up, going into my side pockets, well, in here are my shelter items, because yeah, if the weather's going to be bad, I'll probably be carrying a waterproof, but the weather forecast isn't always right, so it's good to have some form of emergency rain protection. So I've gone for one of these Dutch Army waterproof ponchos. Great item. I did a review on one a while ago. Big old roomy hood, good coverage, but it's not only useful as a waterproof covering, it can also be used as a shelter or as a ground sheet. I've got a good length paracord onto there with a toggle on there, which aids me in putting it up, probably in a plough point configuration, and there's also 4 wire tent pegs in there. As well as that, I also carry a couple of these, and these are light sticks. I've got a red one, I've got a green one. Yes, it's emergency lighting, but they can also be used for signalling. Red for distress, if you've got to wave somebody down on a road, absolutely ideal. Both of these are 12-hour sticks, so they last for a good long time. Once the 12 hours is up, they can also be used as markers. So if you've got a marker location, these will glow at a low light for a good 2 or 3 days afterwards. So again, useful item. Now turning it around to the pocket on the other side, in here, this tends to be my sort of sustenance type pouch. So I have my wacky water bottle, which I really love this sports bottle. It's great, it's really practical. As well as carrying water, you've also got a little compass in there as well when you flip it up. That's housed in the bottom there, so you've got an emergency compass. So if I didn't have the one on my wrist, I have got this little backup compass tucked away in there. Also on there, I've got a load of this, and this is T-Rex tape. It's a bit like Gorilla Tape or 1,000-mile-an-hour tape. Really good, strong, multi-purpose tape. Superly useful for mending things, whether it's patching holes in things or holding things together, or even first aid. And on here I've got 5 meters wrapped around, so a good quantity of tape. Also in here, what I've also got is this, and this is the water filter which fits into there. So if I run out of water and I've got to gather water wherever I can from whatever sources I can, I have the added security of knowing that it's safe to drink because I've taken it in through this little water filter, and that just pushes up inside. I did a review on these a while ago. They're not a lot of money and they make an awful lot of sense, and carrying that little bit of extra with you just gives you that little bit of reassurance that you've always got a safe drinking water with you. As well as that, I've also got one stainless steel, and this one is a little Tatonka cup. So I've got something that I can drink out of when I'm out and about, but also in an emergency. Well, if I'm using my little shelter system, I can put my candle in the bottom there so that I don't knock it over. I've got a means of scooping water up for filling my water bottle. So a good multi-purpose bit of kit. Can even be used if you've got a bit of sterile water in there for washing wounds, etc. So it's always useful to have a metal container. Obviously it also allows me to make hot drinks as well. Also in this side I've got 3 little wire tent pegs, and these can be used with my mug to make an improvised pot stand. In the bottom I've got a few extra calories, so I've got a little hot chocolate drink, one of those instant ones, just add hot water, which I can use with my mug. it's a good source of calories. It's also a bit of a morale booster. It's hot, it's sweet. If you're feeling low, it's absolutely ideal. Also in here, wrapped in tape, I've got a load of peanuts and raisins. It's dry food, it's high calorie, it's fatty, it gives you energy, and that combined with my hot chocolate, that could give me enough calories to get me through the night, or to get me through 24 hours to get me home. Now, in the main body of the pack, as well as my bits and pieces that I need for work, I also carry a couple of extra bits. First one is this. This is a little foam sit pad. Well, to be more exact, it's a garden kneeling pad, because I find the little sit pads that they do in the outdoor shops tend to be a bit flimsy. These are quite a bit thicker, quite a bit firmer. They've got this handy little handle on there as well. Good for sitting on to get your bum off the cold, wet ground. So if I have to stop for a rest, I can at least sit on this. The little handle on the end there, well, that allows you to do this with it, and if you can do that with it, you can use that for fanning your fire to give it a little bit of extra oxygen if need be. So a good useful bit of kit, don't weigh anything, don't cost a lot. Say pick them up down your local garden centre and they make a lot of sense. Even if your car's broken down, you've got to sit on the side of the road to wait for the AA. This down on the ground will just keep your bum off the cold wet ground. Also inside, well, I've got everything in a dry bag, and all my stuff that I normally carry for my everyday stuff is in here, but I've also got another item, and that's this little pouch. And in here I've got a few little charging cables, I've got a power bank, and I've also got a little tiny FM radio and a little set of headphones. And this is because, well, if everything's down and I want to find things out, if I listen to the radio and if I carry my emergency frequencies on a little piece of card so that I know which stations to listen to, even if the mobile phone network's down and I can't get news that way, I can get stuff from the radio. This does FM and AM. They're cheap, they're practical, they don't weigh very much, and it makes sense to carry something in there just so you can pick up on what information is out there, because it might be stuff that's vital and could affect you getting back home. So the last bit we're going to go through is the little compartment in the bottom, and this is where my real sort of emergency items live. And in here I have, well, the first item is this, one of my little EDC pouches. On the side I've got a ferro rod, and inside I've got a Leatherman Wave, and that gives me pliers, a wire cutter, screwdrivers, a couple of different cutting edges. An excellent item to have with you in an emergency. I've got 10 metres of paracord, and this is the 7 strand stuff, so as well as my outer sheath, inside is 7 10-metre cords as well, which are useful for stitching things up, or fishing line, or wherever you need finer cord. So again, useful item. Again, for binding things, got these, some cable ties, all different sizes. Cable ties, don't need any explanation really, but if you need to fasten something together or put an exhaust back on or repair a strap, these might be just the item that you need. They don't weigh a lot. It could be that difference between getting something fixed and moving on, or getting stuck. Also got one of these, a little mini pry bar. These aren't the keyring size ones, this is one that's slightly big. You never know when you may have to force a door either to get into something or to get out of something. So a little mini pry bar like that doesn't weigh a lot, they don't cost a lot, but in an emergency could be worth its weight in gold. Also, something that a lot of people don't consider is, well, when moving through certainly an urban environment, you've got to protect your hands, whether you're climbing over stuff or perhaps crawling through something, your hands need protecting. So I've got one set of quite heavy duty leather work gloves. Really useful item for protecting your hands, but also just perhaps keeping your hands warm. And the last item in here is this. Some of you might recognise it. It's a little shelter kit that's designed to go with the poncho. Inside there's a little plastic bag, and in there is a lighter, a 12-hour candle, 4 hexamine blocks, so if I need to get a fire going or if I need to get a hot drink, I've got those in there. And there's also more duct tape, and what you do with it is you attach the mylar to the inside of your poncho, and you then light your candle up, put it in your cup, you sit on your sit mat, and it gives you a little shelter. So if I've got to be out overnight and I need to protect myself from the cold so that I can get some sleep, then it makes a good little last ditch shelter system. There is a video for it, and I will put a little link to that in the description box down below. So there you go, that is the contents of my little everyday bag. And that's just what it is. It's a bag that I use every day to carry my everyday items. Stashed in it is a few extra pieces to aid me in an emergency, or to aid me to get home if my vehicle breaks down or there's some sort of catastrophe and I've got to make my way back on foot. If you've got any suggestions, any comments on it, then please leave those in the box down below. And if you enjoyed this video, then remember, hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to the channel. Down below in the description box, I'll also put some of the links to some of the bits of kit that I was using and the videos perhaps where I've reviewed them. Also down there you will find links to my social media, so Instagram, Facebook, etc., as well as a link to the Greencraft shop. Pop over there. There might be some EDC light pouches over there. There certainly will be our little Greencraft patches. Get one of those, show your support for the channel. And also in that description box there is a link to my Patreon page. If you want to get involved with the channel, if you want to get discounts and an early heads up to what's coming up in the Greencraft shop, then become a patron and you will get all of that. I think that's everything. I've been Neil, and until next time, stay safe.